You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
I swear, every single time I think I've finally caught up, some fundamental assumption about how we build products just gets completely turned on its head.
Oh, absolutely. The pace of change right now is it's something else.
It's exhilarating for sure, but it also forces you to ask this really critical question. Are we just building fast, or are we actually building things that create, lasting value?
That distinction right there, speed versus durability, that is the ultimate bottleneck for so many companies, and it's exactly what we're focusing on today.
Yeah.
We've gathered some incredible writings that move past all the hype and get right into the strategic systems and tactical shifts that product builders are actually using right now.
Absolutely. And our mission in this exploration is to really provide you, the listener, with a kind of framework. We're dissecting how to create genuine momentum, how to price these tricky new AI capabilities, and maybe most importantly, how to avoid that burnout that comes from just running too fast in the wrong direction.
Think of this as a kind of operational blueprint. The material we're looking at covers everything from execution frameworks to financial modeling, and even the deeper human side of work satisfaction.
Okay, let's unpack this, and let's start at the very beginning of creation. The launch.
The launch cadence.
Exactly. For decades, the standard was that grand, polished, infrequent launch event. But the consensus now is that this whole approach, it's just become a speed bump.
It really has. It slows digital teams down and just kills any potential momentum. That traditional model worked when software distribution was, expensive and physical. But now
It's all about constant communication.
it's a massive shift toward building in public. And this isn't just about transparency for transparency's sake.
Right, it's not a PR move. And what's fascinating is the detail on why it works. It creates genuine momentum and trust through steady shipping, not just big reveals.
But there's a condition.
Rick.
The writings are very clear on this. You have to share updates often, and you have to stay absolutely focused on real user needs.
That constant feedback loop is the real engine. It forces accountability.
It does. However, this push for speed, especially with AI development accelerating so fast, it creates a massive temptation.
Oh, I know this one. The just launch it myth.
Exactly. It lets teams skip the foundational discovery work.
I've seen it happen. An engineer spins up a brilliant prototype with an LLM over a weekend, and the impulse is to just push it live. Why spend weeks on discovery when the code's already there?
Because the cost of skipping discovery it can be catastrophic. AI makes the coding faster, sure, but skipping that phase immediately slows down value creation.
So you end up building something technically brilliant, but strategically useless.
You're just increasing risk and wasting time and compute. Discovery is still the essential step to avoid that.
And this flawed focus on speed, it also pops up in internal processes, right? So specifically product reviews.
Yes. They so often become these exercises in just checking boxes instead of being sources of real insight.
So they focus on tiny fixes and polish equating speed with just coding quickly instead of asking the big fundamental questions.
The really high leverage questions.
Like, does this core problem still matter enough to justify this investment? Or does this thing even have a path to success? But the conversation always defaults to, can we clean up this button?
And that turns a strategic review into a tactical checklist. It keeps teams trapped. And when the thing you're building is AI native, well, the rules of the game change entirely, especially around monetization.
That brings us to a really fascinating part of this, the AI product paradox. And pricing seems to be the biggest piece of it.
It is. The traditional model subscription feature gating, they just kind of break down.
Why is that?
Because with an AI product, you're selling a capability. You're selling automation, often replacing labor or massively speeding up a process. So simple usage-based models like per API call, they can feel arbitrary. They don't capture the real value being delivered.
We saw an incredible case study on this with Elena Verna at a company called Lovable.
Amazing story.
She grew their ARR, their annual recurring revenue, by an astonishing $80 million in less than 7 months, with a tiny team.
And how she did it is the key insight for anyone building with AI right now. She moved away from those arbitrary usage metrics.
Okay, so what was the shift?
The shift is toward outcomes-based value. Instead of pricing based on inputs, how many times you use the model, you price based on the outcome. The productivity gain, the number of correct decisions made, something that directly ties the cost to the business value your customer is getting.
That focus on delivering a true capability breakthrough is captured so well in this concept of the glass slipper effect. I love that analogy.
It's perfect, isn't it? It describes those few AI models that achieve instant lasting retention
Ow.
because they perfectly solve a very specific high-value workload for an early group of users. That group, the glass slipper cohort, they embed the tool into their core process. And here's the key. They never leave.
So you're not just aiming for a good fit, you're aiming for that perfect, permanent fit right out of the gate.
Exactly. It raises the stakes on every launch. If you don't deliver a true capability breakthrough, you're just another running shoe. But that first perfect fit, it wins that entire slice of the market because the switching cost becomes redesigning their whole organization.
Wow. And this intense focus on finding that durable retention, it leads us right to a very harsh financial reality check that the material highlights. The AI churn wave.
It's a big one. A lot of startups are confusing volatile experimental revenue with stable annual recurring revenue.
So money from people just kicking the tires or running one-off pilots.
Exactly. That revenue is based on excitement, on curiosity. It vanishes the moment the next shiny new thing comes along.
So retention data is the only thing that matters.
It's the only reliable measure of AI business health. To get that durable ARR, the AI has to be so deeply integrated into the customer's workflow that ripping it out would cause real pain. If it doesn't survive the free trial, that revenue is never real to begin with.
Which is a powerful bridge, really, because you can only stabilize that external revenue if your own internal systems, if your strategic clarity is actually robust enough. So let's pivot a bit from product metrics to organizational structure. I was fascinated by this concept of uncovering a company's real operating system.
Yes, we all love our tidy org charts, but the reality is that the actual operating system is this complex network of influence and relationship.
The real power centers.
Right, and strategy and execution almost never follow those neat vertical lines on the page.
So the key action here isn't to look at the org chart, it's to map the real relationships. How does that actually work?
It's like a political and social audit. You map who is truly consulted on a big decision, regardless of their title, who has the political weight to block or accelerate a project.
And when you map those hidden lines of influence,
You uncover the real bottlenecks, the real power centers that your strategy has to account for, but that the org chart completely ignores.
and when you have a lack of clarity in that real network, that leads you straight into the execution trap.
The ultimate time sink.
Yeah.
It's not that most teams lack a strategy, they lack clear communication and alignment around it.
So they just default to execution. They're just running, but they don't know if they're heading toward the right finish line.
It's like running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
The strategy flywheel is mentioned as a system to break this cycle.
How is that different from, say, standard quarterly planning?
Traditional planning often just dumps a huge strategy deck on the team once a quarter. The flywheel is a continuous, predictable feedback loop. It forces teams to take time out of execution to reconnect with their purpose and make better choices.
Speaking of execution, let's talk about the people actually running the product managers.
Yep.
This constant focus on execution leads directly to what's described as quiet executor burnout.
Oh, yeah.
I think every PM listening to The Vocal Technologist has probably been the quiet executor at some point.
I think so too. It's so relatable. PMs burn out because they're so focused on just getting tasks done, fixing things quietly behind the scenes. They become indispensable, but they fail to shape the visible strategy or articulate the value they're creating.
They're the quiet engine that no one sees. So the evolution is from that invisible execution to strong strategic product leadership. How do you make that leap?
Visibility is the job. It's that simple. If your work happens in a black box, people don't understand it. That weakens trust, it leads to rework.
And it keeps you in the tactical weeds.
Exactly. But proactive communication builds alignment, it clarifies your impact, and it makes you the person leaders rely on for major opportunities, not just for debugging tasks.
You become the orchestrator, not just the fixer. And that proactive, clarity-driven leadership seems essential for successful internal AI adoption, too.
Absolutely. Companies that are succeeding with internal AI tools, they have leaders who are providing real domain context. AI is only as effective as the context you give it. Clarity and context are the core infrastructure.
Okay, let's zoom out for a second. Look beyond the internal systems to the wider market. There's a powerful lesson from Netflix's rise that really speaks to this.
The lesson is so simple but profound. Internet distribution holds the real power, not just content creation.
Right. The big studios thought owning the IP was everything. They missed that Netflix's distribution channel and its recommendation engine were the true source of power.
They did. And now, even Netflix's biggest threat isn't another studio. It's user-generated content, like YouTube, competing for the one true resource, user attention.
It's a battle for eyeballs and platform efficiency.
Which brings us all the way back to clarity and segmentation. Even if you dominate distribution, you have to be ruthless about your audience. When teams try to drive the same outcome for different customer segments.
It's like streamlining workflow.
Exactly. You have to repeat the outcomes check for each segment, because that one vague statement hides massive differences in what they actually need. Driving extreme clarity means recognizing that what streamlines work for a creative team is totally different from what works for a finance team.
Okay, we've covered pricing, churn, distribution, clarity. And I love that this material wraps with something that feels surprisingly relevant to all of this: the search for meaning in life.
It feels like a curveball next to discussions on ARR, but it's totally foundational. If strategy gives the company direction, meaning gives the individual direction.
And the insight is so important. Meaning isn't something you find, like it's hiding somewhere. It's something you actively build.
Through your values, through connection, through the stories you tell yourself about your life and your work.
It's what sustains that quiet executor and gives the strategic leader resilience, meaning shows up when you show up consistently, even when the work feels ordinary or just really hard.
It grounds everything we've been talking about.
So if we pull this all together, from pricing strategies that unlock millions to finding personal meaning in a chaotic job, there seems to be one clear conclusion about the future of work.
I think so. And that is that AI gives the most massive leverage to people who already know their field well, people who can guide it, contextualize its output, and correct it.
It accelerates expertise. It doesn't replace it.
It supercharges it.
So if we know AI makes experts more valuable than ever, maybe the most critical product any of us can build is our own deep, specialized knowledge. That domain context is the one thing AI can't replicate.
That's the real capability breakthrough.
So as you go about your day, think about that. What capability breakthrough are you building for yourself right now? What specialized knowledge are you cultivating that AI is going to give massive, durable leverage to tomorrow? That's the challenge for all of us.
Spoken Tech, for your ears.